Good evening. Let's come on the record and come to order. I'm Tanola D. Brown Palan of the North Carolina Utilities Commission, presiding commissioner for this hearing. With me are Chair Charlotte A. Mitchell and Commissioner Jeffrey A. Hughes. I now call for hearing, docket number W-218, sub 573, in the matter of application by Aqua North Carolina, Inc., for authority to adjust and increase rates and charges for water and sewer utility service in all service areas of North Carolina and approval of a water system improvement plan. On June 30th, 2022, Aqua North Carolina, Inc., hereafter Aqua Company or applicant, filed an application with the Commission seeking authority to adjust and increase its rates for providing water and sewer utility service in all of its service areas in North Carolina, and for approval to establish and implement a water and sewer investment plan, hereafter WSIP, which I will pronounce as WISIP, pursuant to a new state statute. A WISIP is a rate-making mechanism that will allow the company to recover the reasonably known and measurable capital investments and anticipated reasonable and prudent expenses approved under the WISIP for a 3-year period. Aqua proposes new rates for a base year and the 3 rate years included in its WISIP. The proposed rate increase is based on a 12-month test period ending December 31st, 2021. According to the company, its proposed increase is necessary due to increased capital investments and operating costs to comply with service and regulatory requirements, increased operating costs to maintain or upgrade the level of service, and changes in consumption. In addition, Aqua's application requests continuation of the conservation pilot program previously approved by the Commission, approval to consolidate residential sewer customers located in the Park South Station, Huntley Glen, and Parkway Crossing service areas under its Aqua Uniform Sewer Rate Design, approval of a sewer use rule and customer assistance program, and authority to implement a consumption adjustment mechanism in each of its 3 water rate divisions if its WISIP request is not approved. On July 26, 2022, the Commission issued an order establishing a general rate case and suspending rates. On September 8, 2022, the Commission issued an order scheduling hearings, establishing discovery guidelines, and requiring customer notice. The order scheduled public hearings in Raleigh, Wilmington, and Gastonia, as well as this virtual hearing being held this evening for the purpose of receiving testimony from customer witnesses. The order further scheduled a hearing for the purpose of receiving expert witness testimony in Raleigh to begin at 2 p.m. on January 9, 2023. On September 23, 2022, Aqua filed a certificate of service showing that customer notice of the scheduled hearings had been provided. In addition to the company, the other party in this case is the public staff, whose intervention is recognized pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 62-15D. In compliance with the requirements of the State Government Ethics Act, I remind members of the Commission of our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and inquire at this time as to whether any commissioner has any known conflict of interest with respect to this docket. The record will reflect that no conflicts were identified. I now call upon the parties to announce their appearances, beginning with the applicant.
Good evening. My name is David Drews. I am appearing on behalf of Aqua North Carolina.
Good evening, Mr. Drews. Do you have someone with you that you would like to introduce?
Yes, I didn't know if this is the appropriate time. Shannon Becker, the president of Aqua North Carolina, is with me, And once the introductions are through, I believe he would like to make a very brief opening statement if that's acceptable to the commission.
That'll be acceptable. Thank you for letting me know. And the public staff?
Good evening. I'm Megan Yost with the public staff. Appearing with me this evening is Elizabeth D. Culpepper. We represent the using and consuming public.
Good evening, Ms. Yost and Ms. Culpepper. Are there any preliminary matters other than we already know that the company would like to take advantage of doing an opening statement? Is there any other matter that needs to come to the commission's attention now?
The public staff would like to say a little something as well by way of opening. Thank you.
All right, we'll come back to that. Just let me say a little about this hearing and the way it will be conducted. The commission welcomes the customers to this virtual hearing. We are here to listen to you and hear your concerns regarding the company's application. In conducting this hearing, the commission functions in a judicial capacity as required by law. Because this hearing is not in the nature of a town hall meeting, but is a judicial proceeding, the commission does not take or answer questions. Instead, like a judge in court, we are here to receive evidence from customer witnesses in the form of testimony. The public staff represents the using and consuming public in this application proceeding, and a public staff attorney will assist you, the using and consuming public, in providing your testimony tonight. In order to facilitate an opportunity for all witnesses to participate, we will use the following procedures. First, customer public witnesses will be appearing by audio connection only. Commissioners and attorneys for the parties will be appearing by both video and audio connection. Any public witnesses that wish to view a live video of the proceeding may access it on your computer using YouTube, which is linked from the Commission's home webpage at www.ncuc.net. However, please be sure to mute your computer if you're listening when you are called on to testify, so there will be no feedback that interferes with the court reporter's ability to take down everything that is said. Next, to make sure we hear from everyone, there will be a limit of 3 minutes for each witness to speak. Witnesses should try to avoid repetitive testimony. That will potentially allow customers to cover different points we might not otherwise hear. If someone has given testimony ahead of you that you agree with, you can always indicate you adopt that testimony and move on to another point. Next, public witnesses will be called on to testify in the order that you have called in. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted by the WebEx administrator. Listen carefully. You will hear 2 beeps on your phone line letting you know that we should be able to hear you if you start speaking. At that time, I will deliver the affirmation. Once you have affirmed that your testimony will be true, the attorney for the public staff will ask you several identifying questions, and then you will be allowed to testify. Again, please pay close attention during the course of the hearing and be ready to respond as soon as you hear the beeps unmuting your phone line. I will ask if the witness is on the line. Be aware that counsel for the company or for the public staff may ask questions of you after your statement. The commissioners will also have an opportunity to ask questions about your testimony. These questions are not to argue with you or embarrass you. Rather, they are to make sure the record is clear on what you are trying to convey to us. All right, I will now call on Aqua for its for its opening statement.
Good evening, and thank you, Commissioner Brown-Bland, for allowing me to make a brief opportunity to address you, your fellow commissioners, the public staff, and our customers this evening. To our customers who are taking advantage of this opportunity to be heard tonight, I look forward to hearing your testimony. Tonight is your night to speak in this proceeding. We will not be able to answer your questions on the record here, but if you do have questions, we encourage you to contact Aqua's customer service phone number at 877-987-2782 or use the contact form on our website at aquaamerica.com. We will also follow up and respond to your concerns more formally in a written filing to the Utilities Commission within 20 days of this hearing. In that report, Aqua will respond to your concerns as you express them here tonight. That report will be a public document which you can view on the Commission's website. We are subject to regulatory oversight by this Commission, thorough audit and review by the public staff, and environmental regulation by the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, as well as the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. These public hearings are a strong exercise of that regulatory oversight by this Commission, and we look forward to addressing any issues or concerns you may have. Thank you again for your participation in this process. We know that asking for a rate increase is never easy, but we appreciate you taking the time to be here tonight and for being our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Ms. Yost?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that in the in-person public hearings, an engineer from the public staff's water, sewer, and telephone division is available to answer questions from customers. That, of course, is not possible in the virtual hearing, but if customers have questions they would like to ask a public staff engineer, they may call 919-733-5610. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Yost, have you identified witnesses who are willing to come forward with testimony this evening?
We have.
All right. Mr. WebEx Administrator, please unmute the first witness who called in.
Hello.
Hello. Before we get started, let me affirm you.
Okay.
Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Ms. Yost?
Thank you. Please state your name and address, including the subdivision.
My name is Stephanie Teran, T-E-R-A-N. I live in Park South Station. My address is 2470 Royal York Avenue, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28210.
Thank you. And do you receive water or sewer service from Aqua or both?
Both.
And do you have a statement you'd like to present to the Commission this evening?
I do.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So I know we only have 3 minutes, so I do want to keep it brief and succinct. My overall point is my community, which is Park South Station, as well as Park Crossing, and I think Huntley Glen. I might be getting those wrong. We utilize Aqua services in a very different way than their other consolidated customers. So I'm asking for us to be considered to have a unique rate design that really addresses what services and what we are really truly being provided through Aqua. So I'm going to take us back to 2020. When they last asked for a rate increase, we received a letter, and it was supposed to be a 3% rate increase, which would have brought it, I'm going to leave off the cents because I don't know. We were at $26 as their base fee for sewer, and it would have brought us to $27. However, after the last meeting and rate increase, we actually went up 43%. So we went from $26 to $60 being our base rate for just sewer usage, which is a huge increase. Now they're asking us to go up another $10 after that for services that we aren't utilizing the same way as their other consolidated customers because of the design of our community. So that's my biggest point, is I just want them to consider a unique rate design. Now, coming back to 2020, Aqua did initially propose us only being raised to $27, which would have been about a 3% increase. However, this committee board, or however this came about, added us into that new $60 fee that their consolidator customers were moved towards. Now, if Aqua is able to provide us the services that they need at that $27, that to me is expressing that we are unique and we can have a unique rate design, and they still will make their profit and get the funding they need to provide the service that they do provide for us. That's all I have.
Ms. Yost, do you have questions for the witness?
I do not.
All right, Mr. Drews?
No, I do not.
Commissioners? Ms. Terrain, I would just ask you, you mentioned a number of times that you use the service differently. Exactly what do you mean by differently?
So because our roads are private roads and they're not the size that Charlotte water requires, we require a separate party to provide us water. However, all of our services are actually still funneling and tunneling through Charlotte water main system. So Aqua is not utilizing their same facilities and materials and chemicals that they need or would need for other customers, because we are getting our water from Charlotte Water. They're kind of like that middleman for us.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions on Commission's question?
No question.
Not hearing any. Mr. Rain, thank you for coming out, and you may be excused.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too. Please unmute the next witness.
Good evening.
Good evening. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ms. Yost?
Good evening. Could you please state your name and address, including the subdivision?
My name is Eric Galam. I reside at 12208 Glenmont Way, Raleigh, 27613. My subdivision is Sussex Acres.
Thank you. Mr. Galam, do you receive water or sewer service from Aqua or both?
I obtain water from the Bayleaf and wastewater treatment at Hawthorne subdivision, so therefore the answer is both.
Thank you. And do you have a statement you'd like to provide this evening?
I do.
Please proceed.
I am directly and materially affected by Aqua's application to increase rates. I request that my testimony and written comments be entered as evidence. I'm concerned about the appearance of inefficient and imprudent business practices on the part of Aqua that have led to frequent rate cases without significant improvements in the quality of services provided. I advocate that the Commission fully investigate the application by Aqua to determine if the costs of Aqua were reasonable and prudently incurred. Did Aqua incur these costs with the aim of providing the best long-term service at the lowest long-term costs? To facilitate water conservation, Aqua's base rate should be dropped to 20% or lower. Aqua's current and proposed rate does not match their water conservation message. The drop in the base rate will provide an incentive for conservation. Any cleanups of spills should be borne by the shareholders and not the customers. I request relief. Comments submitted during docket W-218 sub 497 generally remain the same, namely, 1, rates should not be increased during recessions, which we are currently experiencing. 2, Aqua should not be granted a rate increase. Rather, they should have a revenue neutral change. 3, base and usage charges should be at a maximum of 20% to 80 ratio. 4, sewage should be metered to help conserve water. Flat rates are unfair. And 5, customers should be provided adequate time to prepare a response to the public hearing request. My notice was received on September 23rd, 2022. The deputy clerk signed the notice on September 8th, 2022. Similar delays occurred with the last hearing. My retired neighbors were out of their house for 2 months last year. Water and sewer usage was nil. They returned from their extended vacation and became frustrated that their bill had not decreased significantly. This is due to excessive base charges. Climate change will likely result in hotter summer temperatures and reduced precipitation. The Utilities Commission could be a leader in conservation. Without foresight from the Commission to adopt the recommendations above, I could water my lawn and become an average monthly consumer for the price of a low-quality case of beer. With the proposed rates, I have zero incentive to conserve our precious natural resources. Again, I request that this testimony be entered into the record as evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yost.
No questions.
All right, Mr. Drews.
No questions. Thank you.
And do the commissioners have questions?
No
Thank
questions.
you. All right, thank you, Mr. Glam. You may be excused.
For your consideration, I appreciate it.
All right. And Mr. Administrator, would you unmute the next witness, please? Hello?
Linda Joyce.
All right, let's get you affirmed. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, Ms. Yost.
Good
I
evening.
live at
Could you
Hold on, let's let Ms. Yost ask you a question.
please state your name, address, and your subdivision for the record?
Linda Joyce. I live at 327 Mott's Forest Road, a subdivision in New Hanover County in Wilmington called Mott's Village.
Thank you. And do you receive water service, sewer service, or both from Aqua?
Aqua and Cape Pure Utilities for sewer.
So is the water provided by Aqua? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. And do you have a statement you'd like to provide this evening?
I do.
Please go ahead.
I am retired. I'm a senior living on a fixed income. I speak for neighbors and friends unable to participate today, but all are willing to sign a petition supporting issues regarding Aqua service and complaints, quality of water, toxins and filterization, low pressure, and Aqua's request for rate hikes through 25 without public input. We are disturbed with Aqua's operation and the agencies who are not protecting homeowners' rights to critical information that affect our well-being. No one is enforcing EPA regulations, and I ask why. We are paying for drinking water that carries unacceptable toxins, having the potential to cause irreversible effects to our health. Aqua's PFAS monitoring results showed PFOA and PFOS that greatly exceeded the latest EPA advisories, 825 times for PFOA and 110 times for PFOS. Our water should be filtered properly for chemicals, tested quarterly for PFAS and other toxins, with customers being notified of the results and the amounts found of each substance. We need to adopt enforceable standards for secondary contaminants, sediment, iron, and magnesia. I live alone. My health is a priority. Allowing companies like Aqua to continue without transparency and accountability defeats my efforts, while Aqua continues to jeopardize people's health. Homes in Mott's have low pressure, water pressure. Water can trickle from a garden hose, making it impossible to water plants, or drop from a faucet in a low stream. I have reported low pressure issues over the years but gave up because Aqua states my pressure is fine. Complaining never gets recorded, for I have been told on several occasions there are no complaints from you, Ms. Joyce. Aqua is manipulating customers, and authorities are not reporting actual facts. I received a letter signed by a complaint announced in August from the NCUC stating my low pressure was reported or caused by a landscaping company issuing an irrigation schedule causing the problem. This is completely false information. I have low pressure even in the winter months with no irrigation running. Letter states Aqua has made adjustments in the distribution area addressing these concerns. I would like to hear what they are, as I have seen no results of these adjustments. Aqua's drilled 2 wells 2 houses down from me. The first well failed. The second one, I was told, was good. However, workmen informed me they need to bring power to the well to make it operable. No workmen have been in this area for some time. What's happening? Why are they not operable? Can a CFPUA water system be annexed and extended to serve the village of Mott's Landing? If so, what are the requirements to make that happen? Residents of Mott's wants to know what we have to do. A petition, sign it by some, all. We need help, we need action, and most of all, we need change. There should be an independent, detached from the NCUC to perform a forensic audit on Aqua, focusing on how funds approved rate hikes justified in addressing secondary contaminants and make capital investments in water and sewer infrastructure improvements. Aqua's proposal for excessively high percentages through 25 without consumer comment is unthinkable. In 2014, Aqua justified the approved rate hikes to address secondary contaminants. Today, 8 years later, customers are still burdened with these said contaminants. We need to eliminate water service providers self-monitoring and reporting and require independent testing and reporting for the contaminants that is overseen and administered by the Public Water Supply, PWS section, the Division of Water Resources of the NCDEQ. Last, Aqua requested its customers to complete a backwater flow annual inspection. I had an engineer inspect mine and was told that two safety mechanisms would make it impossible for the backflow to cause an issue. Therefore, I asked why we can't do this every 5 years instead of annually. Final.
Okay, Ms. Joyce, are you about, you need
last paragraph.
You've exceeded. All right, I'll let you go. But you've exceeded
The public
3 minutes.
right to access needed information for health and safety decision making. This must trump over competing interests that are opposed to transparency. I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Yost, do you have questions for the witness?
I don't, thank you.
And the company?
No, we do not.
Commissioners?
I have a question.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes, you mentioned, I believe, a cross-connection inspection that you were required to have. Do I understand that you have a separate irrigation system?
I am not a separate irrigation system, no. I mean, I'm talking about my home irrigation system.
Okay. Do you know how much you paid for that cross-connection inspection? Were you obligated to pay for it yourself?
Are you talking about the backflow inspection?
Yes, I'm sorry. I used the engineering word. I'm sorry. My engineering background came back. Yeah, your backflow. I'm sorry, your backflow inspection. I'm sorry for confusing you.
I would. It's $50, and I just find when I am told that it would be impossible, not only there was another reason, there were 3 reasons actually. 2 with the safety mechanism and something to do with the pressure. He said it would be impossible, and I trust the gentleman. So I just asked, that's an extra burden every year for people to do that $50. And if it's unnecessary, I mean, why can't we compromise and go out 5 years? Particularly if it's something that's, you know, I'm being told it's sort of impossible. So why are we doing it?
Okay, thank you. You clarified my question, answered my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Joyce, have you spoke to various contaminants that you believe are in the water. Have you spoken with anybody from the Department of Environmental Quality about your concerns, or anybody from the public staff?
I haven't. We have a gentleman, though, in our development by the name of Bennett that is actively involved with this on multiple levels.
And do you believe
Mott Village?
Do you believe that he's spoken with these other agencies?
I can't confirm that, but I feel with the correspondence that I have seen, I would think it would be likely that he has.
All right, and then I usually say this in my opening, but I didn't tonight. You asked that there be independent audit of the company, and I just want to point out, just for everyone's knowledge, that the public staff represents the using and consuming public, and the public staff is not controlled by the commission. It is an independent agency, and it does have accountants, attorneys, engineers, economists who go through the records, do various audits, visit the facilities, and that kind of thing. I don't have a question about that, but I just wanted to assure you that that is what is in place in the North Carolina law to represent the using and consuming public. All right, are there any questions for Ms. Joyce on commission's questions?
None
Hearing
from
none.
the
Hearing none, Ms. Joyce, you may be excused, and thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Administrator, please unmute the next witness.
Hello.
Hello. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, Ms. Yost, you have questions for this witness?
Yes. Good evening, ma'am. Could you please state your name, address, and subdivision for the record?
Yes. My name is Deborah L. Cook. My address is 3634 E Cotton Gin Drive, Clayton, North Carolina, 27527. I'm in the Cottonfield Village subdivision in Flowers Plantation.
Thank you. And do you receive water, sewer, or both services from Aqua?
Both.
Thank you. And do you have a statement you'd like to give this evening?
Yes, I do.
Please go ahead.
Okay. I am asking you to reject the proposed rate increase by Aqua NC and to oppose their water and sewer investment plan they want the customers to finance. Please do not approve their request. I live in Cottonfield Village, a modest neighborhood in Flowers Plantation in Clayton, North Carolina. I am a retired North Carolina school teacher, and this rate increase would negatively impact my life and others like me. This utility already charges an extraordinarily high rate for their service, with little of my monthly bill being for actual consumption of water. My base fee for just being connected to their service for water currently is $20.70 a month, and the sewer connection base charge is $60.43 per month. My usage is less than the average customer, and with only around 2,000 gallons used last month, and my most recent bill was $97.06. That is just with a part of the month with the already approved rate increase for water usage. Next month will be higher. The proposed base fee with the increase for just the first year of their request for my unit is $25.35 for water and $70.77 for sewer. That is about a $15 increase per month for just being connected. They say the average customer would pay $155.86 a month just for the first year. I'm guessing that my bill with low usage will be around $115 a month. Where is the incentive for conservation? It is and will be the highest utility bill I pay. My electric bill this month was only $85. And with this increase, my water bill will exceed what I pay for cable TV and internet combined. I will need to cut back on something, and using less water will make little or no difference in my bill. And they are asking for increases the following 3 years. No. When would that stop? In 2018, Aqua NC reported that their average customer paid $114.62 a month. If this increase is improved, that is a 37% increase in 4 years for the average customer. Aqua NC has been charging a system improvement charge, yet I see little or no improvement in water quality since 2018, when there were many complaints that were covered by WRAL. What is the real plan now? It seems it really is only to improve their bottom line. Please do not approve this increase in rates for their base fee for Aqua NC. Thank you.
Ms. Yost,
No questions.
Mr. Drews.
Yes, one question. Ms. Cook, do you know if you are receiving purchased water from Johnston County through those aqua pipes?
Yes, Aqua NC does purchase the water from Johnston County. And from what I understand from just communicating with other people that are on straight Johnston County water, they pay a whole lot less. But I don't know that for sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do the commissioners have questions? All right, Ms. Cook, we appreciate your testimony tonight, and you may be excused.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Administrator, would you unmute the next witness, please? Hello?
Yes, hello?
All right. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Ms. Yost?
Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record along with the subdivision name.
Yes, my name is Susan Chandler. I reside at 217 Longwood Drive, Chapel Hill, and our subdivision is Stone Ridge, Sedgefield.
Thank you. And do you receive water, sewer, or both services from Aqua?
We just received the water.
Okay, thank you. And would you like to provide a statement this evening?
Yes, very much.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I moved in to this home in 2001, so I've been here for 21 years. When I first moved in, I was shocked and dismayed about the quality of the water that we were paying for. The water has been and still is substandard. We have experienced sediment, contaminants, calcium deposits, leaving residue on our sinks, glasses, toilets, wreaking havoc on our skin and our hair. The water quality results in the quality of our health. As a result, we installed a $6,000 water filter and softening system that, again, 2 years ago, we needed to replace it at, again, a cost of $5,000. We also have a water filtration system in addition, and this costs us $500. As well, I couldn't believe and still can't believe it or not, that when we have a power outage, we have no water. We can't flush the toilets. We have no drinking water, which, by the way, is substandard, and no hot water to shower. I think that in this day and age, to not have the power of water is an outrage. We also need more than, I believe it's 5 generators, which, as I understand from our water committee working with Aqua, these 5 generators supply for North Carolina and South Carolina. We need more generators, and we also need a dedicated generator for our neighborhood. You are increasing our rates, and guess what? We're receiving substandard water quality and service. It's like an insult to injury. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Yost, do you have questions for Ms.
I don't.
Chandler? Mr. Drews?
No questions.
Commissioners?
You sure you have no questions? Be happy to discuss.
Commissioners, do you have questions? All right, Ms. Chandler, I would like to know, how long has it been since you had you said you first had installed the water filtration and softening system at a cost of $6,000. When was that?
When I first moved in, it was $6,000. That was 21 years ago. And approximately, I think it was 4 years ago, we were told that we also needed to replace it because they said that system was old. And that was $5,000.
All right, I understand.
A lot of money. A lot of money.
All right, are there questions on Commission's question? Hearing none. Ms. Chandler, thanks for your testimony, and you may be excused.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You take good care, too.
All right, thank you. You too. Mr. Administrator, would you please unmute the next witness?
Hello.
Hello. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, Ms. Yost.
Good evening. Please state your name and address, including the subdivision for the record.
Sure. My name is Rose Rowan. The address is 636 Chapel Ridge Drive in Pittsboro, 27312, and the subdivision is Chapel Ridge.
Thank you. Do you receive water or sewer service from Aqua or both?
Both.
And do you have a statement you'd like to provide this evening?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. First, I just want to say thank you for allowing our voices to be heard here tonight. And I just want to pause. So before I get into what I have to say, I'm not asking a question. I know that's not allowed to be answered, but I want all of you to think of a yearly water bill that you think is fair and fairly regulated. What do you think a yearly water bill would cost that's fair? And I'll come back to that later. Not looking to have it answered though. So my reaction when we received a letter from Aqua that they were proposing rates to be increased, I was shocked. I can't imagine my bill being any higher than it actually is today. When we first moved into Chapel Ridge about 4 years ago, after the neighbors introduced themselves to you, the next thing they say is, our water is really, really expensive. Please be careful. You'll be shocked when you get your bill. And when we got our bill, I realized why they warned me. I literally thought that a pipe burst under our house or that we had a leak because I couldn't believe that was an actual bill. And my husband and I are from very high cost of living areas, and we've never experienced that. So now when neighbors moved into our subdivision, I feel obligated to warn them to be very careful on their water consumption. Our family goes to great lengths to try to reduce our consumption to control and kind of offset that bill. Every month, we never wash our car. We always take it to the car wash. It's just cheaper. We never put our irrigation system on in the backyard. And our grass, you can tell, it's very dead in the back, but our neighbors can't see it. Our front yard, we do use our irrigation system, but we use it very minimally and just when we absolutely have to, so that the grass does not burn up. Regardless of all the precautions, and there's so many more that we take because the water bill is always top of mind, regardless of those precautions that we take, a 12-month bill from Aqua is over $4,000 for our household. And just to put that in perspective, the Aqua water bill per year is higher than our property taxes, and we have higher property taxes here. The Aqua water bill per year is higher than our electric bill and our gas bill combined. And the reason I say that is really just to put a spotlight on how disproportioned that bill is relative to other utilities and also our property taxes. So here's the ask. My ask is that the price increase be rejected, but also that the commission strongly step in here with your voice and also look at measures to reduce our bill. This just cannot be normal. Again, like I said, my husband and I are from other areas that have very high costs of living. This is not normal for us. Other areas have gotten it right. Something's broken here. Something's wrong. So we're just asking for the commission to step in and strongly investigate that, reject this increase, but also look at measures to reduce this to be a fair rate for the public. That's all that I had. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Yost, do you have questions?
I don't.
All right, Mr. Drews, questions for Ms. Rowan?
Yes, I have a couple questions, Ms. Rowan. Are you aware you're averaging around 26,000 gallons of usage per month?
I don't know what we average per month, per gallon.
Okay. Are you aware that your system is what's called a pass-through system, where the water is supplied by the town of Pittsboro and just distributed by Aqua?
Yes, I am aware that Aqua buys it from the city of Pittsboro.
And are you aware that the city of Pittsboro's usage rate is, I'm going to say very roughly, 4 times the usage rate that Aqua has?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
So in the letter that was sent, there was a table provided of what the rate was that was the pass-through rate from the city of Pittsboro, and that rate is the highest rate compared to any other rate on that chart. So I agree that Aqua is part of it, but then also the city of Pittsboro is also part of the problem as well. And maybe the two need to negotiate better terms as well, because it's $23 compared to other areas that are getting 4 and 7.
All right. Are there questions from the commission? All right, Ms. Rowan, thank you for your testimony tonight, and you may be excused.
Thank you.
All right, next witness, Mr. Administrator.
Yes, hello?
Hello. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do, with the qualifier that part of my statements will be my personal opinion and perceptions. Okay.
Opinion versus fact you're getting at, correct?
I said part of my statement will be an opinion.
That's right.
And
all right, Ms. Yost, do you have questions?
Yes. Sir, could you please state your name and address and subdivision for the record?
my name is Hayden Moore, 5001 Fielding Drive, Raleigh. The subdivision is Meadow Ridge.
Thank you. And Mr. Moore, do you receive water or sewer service from Aqua or both?
Water.
All right. And do you have a statement you'd like to give?
Yes. Is the time start now?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, first, someone previously talked about that there was no conservation encouragement, and I certainly agree with that. The rates that are proposed, you can just be extremely wasteful with water, and there's no encouragement of this natural resource with the rate structure and the high base charge. If you use 1,000 gallons a month, the bulk of your bill is the base charge. And I might have time for this later to just say that in my case, irrigation systems by new subdivision adjacent to ours really ruined the water quality, in my opinion. Okay. Next thing is the percentage increases that are proposed. In the information that I was mailed, 9 pages, and on page 5 it says the proposal is for a 19.1% increase, but when I calculate according to my numbers, the base rate increased 22.3% and the usage rate increased 23.7%. So I don't know how you can say it's a 19.1%. That's a little misleading to me. And the other thing about the rates is on page 5, it says they are cumulative year 1 through 3. So you do these 20-something% increases every year for 3 years, and you're going to have doubled your bill in 3 years or less. So that just, again, based on what I'm seeing, the service and so forth, that just seems outrageous. Okay. And that with the inflation we have now, you know, I don't know if it's 8, 10% or whatever, but the bulk of that's food and fuel, and I don't think Aqua is using either one of those, maybe a little bit of fuel for the trucks. So that this 20-something% just seems totally outrageous with other economic conditions. And then just let me say, I guess I got a minute left, that in my neighborhood, originally had 47 houses served by a little regional company that had 2 wells built for our neighborhood. And the water quality was perfect, never had a problem. It tasted good. It never turned brown. It never turned cloudy. And when Aqua bought it, it just went, you know where, in the handbasket. I would get stuff that looked like coffee or Coke coming out of my faucets. I would call them and complain. And they say, well, flush the lines, flush the lines. I said, well, then don't charge me for flushing 500 or 1,000 gallons of water. Just total callous disregard. No, we will not give you any money for that. And just customer service, you know, just a callousness, in my opinion. And let me see, I'm about out of time, I guess. Now, they did do something, and the water's not brown anymore. It is now cloudy white. I won't drink it. I don't know anybody that will drink it. And so you got the expense of having to buy a bottle of water all the time. So that's, I guess my time's up.
All right, Ms. Yost, do you have questions for Mr. Moore?
I do. I had intended to ask this before Mr. Moore began, but Mr. Moore, did you register to testify at this hearing by the deadline set out in the notice you received?
I did not, because I agree with the previous person. It was not mailed in a timely manner to have been received. I would have received it had it been mailed shortly after September the 9th. I think that's the date of it.
And were you out of the country when
Yes.
the notice arrived?
Yes, I was out of the country for approximately 3 weeks. Got my mail this past Friday, I guess, and then I didn't read it until Monday. And it was past the date to call in and request to be on this. So,
okay.
And I was
Go ahead.
asking for an exemption because of the untimely mailing and my being out of the country.
All right. So the public staff would request that Mr. Moore's testimony be accepted as evidence. I am authorized to state that the company does not object to that.
All right, Ms. Yost, there's no objection to that, and his testimony is received into the record.
All right. And I did have one additional question for Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, you indicated that you were instructed to flush your lines at some point. Was that by somebody who you spoke with at Aqua Customer Service?
Yes.
And did you ask for any sort of credit or compensation for the water that you were advised to flush?
Yes.
And what were you told?
On one occasion, I did get a very minimal credit, but on multiple occasions, it was like just totally flipped off. No, we're not going to pay you for that.
And do you remember approximately when those instances occurred when you were not, you were told you wouldn't be compensated?
It's been a few years. I don't know if it's been 3 or 4 or 5. I'm not certain.
Okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Drews?
Yes. I just wanted to ask Mr. Moore, when you looked at the customer notice and you looked at the percentage increases year by year, did you understand those to be a cumulative amount or a separate increased percentage every year?
The statement says they are cumulative. So if you get a 23% increase the first year, then you get another 28.9 on top of that, and then you get another 34.8. So it's going to double in less than 3 years.
I'm not here to testify, but I think the 23 or whatever in the first year is correct, but the subsequent years reflect a cumulative amount that includes the amount from the prior years. That's my understanding, and of course, if the Commissioner and Public Staff have a different understanding, they'll let you know. So I don't believe it's as bad as it looks on that notice. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have questions? All right. Mr. Moore, as Mr. Becker indicated earlier, the company will be filing a report to address the questions raised tonight, and so you may find some of your answers there. And also, if we were in person, they would have representatives as well as the public staff there to answer or to attempt to answer some of your questions. As Mr. Becker indicated, they'll be happy for you to get in touch with them. They may even reach out to you to try and answer some of your questions. There being no other questions for you, Mr. Moore, you may be excused, and we thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Administrator, do we have another witness?
Hello?
Hello. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, Ms. Yost.
Good evening. Could you please state your name, address, and subdivision for the record?
Hi, this is Daniel Riley. I live at Park South Station. My address is 4156 Park South Station Boulevard.
Thank you. And do you receive water, sewer service from Aqua or both?
I received both.
Thank you. And do you have a statement you would like to give this evening?
I want to support the first testimony, or express support for the first testimony.
All right, that would be from the first witness.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Do you have anything else to add?
I would like to request that the commission rejects the rate increase. I think it's not. I don't think that it's warranted, and there's been steady rate increases over the last few years, and I think there needs to be more investigation to the management of the infrastructure.
All right. And I believe the first witness was also from Park South Station, and that was in Charlotte. Are you from Charlotte?
Yes, I am. Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right. Ms. Yost, do you have further questions for this witness?
Okay. No questions.
Mr. Drews?
No questions.
And the commissioners? All right. Thank you, Mr. Riley. You may be excused.
Thank you.
All right. Next witness?
Reagan. Hello.
Hello. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Ms. Yost, you're a witness.
Thank you. Could you please state your name, address, and subdivision for the record?
Yes, it's Reagan Padiachi, 15 Litchford Road in Chapel Hill. The subdivision is the Stone Ridge Sedgefield neighborhood.
Thank you. And do you receive water or sewer service from Aqua or both?
Water.
And do you have a statement you'd like to provide?
I do. I did also want to support Ms. Susan Chandler's testimony. and add to that having moved from Dallas to Chapel Hill in 2019, was very surprised at the quality of the water in the neighborhood, and also had to have a home filtration and water softening system installed in 2020, which was approximately $12,000. Subsequent to installation of that system, we've had multiple times when our water system has been flushed without appropriate notice, and for which time we were either without water or water with very low, very low flow through the system, which also caused our newly installed filter to be flooded with sediment. We've also had to install a flow valve that keeps the pressure from spiking, as is common during the flushing of the system by Aqua. With respect to the number of projects that Aqua has identified as being a top priority, I'd also ask that the Sedgefield, the Stone Ridge Sedgefield neighborhood be moved up in that queue, with the system being approximately 45 years old and some significant water quality issues that others have testified to. Thank you.
Jess?
No questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Drews.
Yes, sir. Are you aware, and this relates to your comment about notice of flushing, are you aware that for the past couple years, there's a way you can sign up for a program called Water Smart Alert and get advance notice of flushing that way?
I was not aware of that. I will look into that. I have not seen anything in our paperwork from when we moved in from Aqua related to that, but if you could direct me to where that is, I'll take a look at that as well.
Yeah, anyone can get that information from their customer service number, but Aqua will reach out to you directly and provide you with that information. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, commissioners? All right. Mr. Adiachi, I believe. Am I pronouncing that correct?
Padiachi with a P. No, Padiachi with a P.
Padiachi.
Thank you.
So are there times when you do receive a notice of flushing?
I have not. If it might have come, it may come to our neighborhood, and we get notice through our neighborhood listserv. But it's usually very late after, either within 12 hours or 24 at the most that occurs, at which time we have to prepare for being without water, and or fill up our bathtubs with water to maintain that until the flushing is complete. And when that flushing is done, a lot of sediment is either sent through our system, our water filtration system at our home, or through our washing machine, which then requires us to have to disconnect the hoses and do a flush of our washing machine as well. So the notice period is not sufficient for a neighborhood in which most adults are working, and in preparation for those events, to have to plan, to have some alternative plan for taking care of kids, et cetera.
All right, and you mentioned that at least on one occasion, the flushing affected your newly installed filter. Does that happen often?
That was the first time it's happened. So we've had the system in place for approximately 2.5 years now. That happened I don't know the exact timing. I would say within 6 to 7 months of having the system installed. A filter that would typically last in normal usage somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 months to 36 months before needing to be cleaned or replaced was embedded with sediments, which required us to pay for the filter, a new filter at that point in time. So it has not happened since then, but the fact that it did happen with as much flow through of sediment and other items that it caused the filter to not even be able to be cleaned, it needed to be fully replaced, was very surprising.
Does the filter come in at an additional cost to you beyond the $12,000 for the system?
It does. It did. And
Can you indicate about how much?
Yeah, I think it was approximately $170 plus the cost of installation. So that might have been approximately $250 to $270.
All right, thank you. Any questions on Commission's questions?
I have a follow-up question, if you don't mind,
Commissioner Hughes?
Just following up on your filter system. Do you have a company that provides some sort of maintenance contract with that? We've heard a lot, particularly in your development of these. I guess they're called point of use systems. And I was just wondering if there's one company that, if you know of, that serves a lot of your neighbors, and do they keep a relationship with you after you sell it, or do you just buy it and you're on your own?
No, you have the option of a variety of service plans over the course of a year, for example, in which you could have service once every 6 months, once a year, once every quarter, with varying levels of cost. When I had my system installed, it included an annual service as part of that initial cost. So the service to when the filter went bad was separate and apart from our annual maintenance service, because it's not typically included. I would say there are probably 4 to 5 companies that provide water softening and purifying systems. Ours is Connecticut. I can't say that they are, that the majority of neighbors have them. I have several who have used them in our neighborhood, and we're happy with the functioning of the system.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
All right, any questions on the Commission's questions? All right, hearing none. Mr. Pagliacci, you are excused, and thank you very much for coming out.
All right, thank you for your time.
All right, next witness.
Commissioner, that is it.
All right. Well, it seems we are now at the conclusion of this public witness hearing. I'll just remind those who are still listening that the company is required to file a report addressing the service concerns that we've heard, and I think they usually take the opportunity to answer other questions as well. The expert witness hearing will be January 9th, 2023 in the Commission hearing room in Raleigh, and after that hearing, the Commission will make a decision in this case. That being said, is there anything else from the parties tonight? All right, no. I'm getting the negative answers, and so we are now at the conclusion, and we will be adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.